I love it when you guys tell me I'm wrong, and I've got a prime example of that right here behind me. So when we were working on finishing off the inside of the shop here, we decided to insulate these garage doors with our 7.5 pink foam board, and then to continue with the wood theme we have going on here, because this is going to be a woodworking shop, we added some wood paneling to the garage doors just to dress those up a little bit and kind of continue with the theme. And I thought in my head, that pink foam board is light as a feather, the wood paneling is light as a feather, and the garage doors still open and close as they normally would. It didn't seem like there was any extra stress on the opener or the springs. Well, you guys let me know in the comments that even the slightest change in weight to that door completely changes the physics of that garage door spring and wear and tear on the motor. So today I've got a garage door company coming out here. I'm not too proud to admit when I was wrong. They're going to take a look at this, evaluate whether we need new springs or whether the springs need adjusted or what exactly we need to do. And I'm hoping that when they get here, they'll be okay with being on camera and we can ask them a few questions about this. All right, guys, so unfortunately the garage door people were a little bit camera shy, which is okay. Not everybody wants to be on YouTube. So I'm going to try to quickly rehash the conversation that we had, some of the things that I learned and what we ultimately ended up deciding to do. As I mentioned before, when we did this, I didn't think I was adding that much weight because this paneling here is very lightweight. The pink foam board is very lightweight, but I was surprised. What they did first was they came and they undid the latch on the garage door like this. And then they took a bathroom scale, lifted the door up and set it down on the scale. And they said that this door, with everything that we did to it, weighed about 160 pounds, and the springs that were up there were rated for about a 100-pound door. And I asked them, I said, well, are we looking at just retensioning these springs or are we looking at replacing the springs? And he said, really, if you retension the springs, you're going to shorten the lifespan of the springs. The springs are good for about 10,000 cycles, and if you over-tension them for too heavy of a door and you're overcompensating with that spring, you're going to shorten that lifespan in half to 5,000 cycles or something like that. So we did ultimately decide to go with new springs. He said the most that you would really want to compensate with the spring is about 15 pounds. And when he weighed this door, we were about 60 pounds over what this spring was rated for. So I did seriously consider just leaving those springs up there and tensioning them down, because if I'm going to replace them anyway, might as well just put those back up there, shorten the lifespan, use them until they're no good anymore, and then replace them just to buy me some time. But you know, at that point, it's just a ticking time bomb. And when those springs go, that door is going to come crashing down. And you never know what you're going to be pulling in or pulling out. You know, I could be on the tractor that doesn't have a cab on it, and that 160-pound door could come crashing down on me, or the four-wheeler, or, you know, my kids could be coming in and out and it could come dropping down on them. So just a little insurance policy to take care of that problem now. What we did end up doing is there was two things we could have done. We could have either gone with a bigger spring with bigger wire on it, and it would have been a little bit shorter, but they didn't have enough of that size spring. So what they did was they actually went with two smaller springs to get that just right. And we'll actually show you real quick how easy these open up and close now. So I'm not even touching that door. This door is balanced just right. Stays open, and then comes back down and stays closed all the way. So now, instead of having 60 pounds worth of lifting capacity on that motor, we now have essentially zero. It's just controlling it up and down with no pressure on the plastic gears inside the garage door openers. That's another concern, is if you don't do anything, because the garage doors did open and close on their own, but if you don't do anything, there's plastic gears inside of the garage door opener. You're going to end up just stripping those, and that's going to be a much more expensive fix to start replacing garage door openers. The total cost for this to replace the one spring with two springs up there was about $350 a door. So $700, like I said, again, to protect myself, my family. It just made a lot of sense to take care of it now and not have it be an issue with a door coming down on somebody. Another question I asked those guys while they were here and untensioning the old spring and retensioning the new spring is, I've always heard garage door springs are notorious for being extremely dangerous and in some cases actually killing people. And they said these ones, not so much. He said there was an old style spring that used to go on the side rails of the door, but he said these ones here, there's basically a set screw, and then you just have to slowly unwind it with 2 rods, poke it in there, and just keep working it around, switching, alternating between rods to make sure you don't lose the tension. But once you get to a certain point, you just let it go and it just unravels and unspools. He said the biggest thing is when people are up here doing that, they're usually on a ladder like I am right now. And whenever that does unspool, it'll usually scare them and they fall off the ladder and get hurt or die that way. It's not actually the spring that kills them, but it's the spring that causes the accident. So just something I learned today and found interesting and thought you guys might be interested in as well. So another thing that I thought was really interesting is how they calculate how much tension to put on that spring. So here's the old one, and you can see there's a line going across this old spring. And on this one, you can see it's wound essentially. And so they must have some sort of chart or something that they use that says, okay, if this garage door weighs 160 pounds, you need this size spring and it needs to be wound so many times. So what they did is that line was originally straight all the way across the spring. And then, they said we need 8.5 across here. So once they wound it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.5. So that's how they determined how much tension to put on that spring to balance the door. I thought that was pretty interesting too. So I always like learning about other professions and seeing how things are done. And I'm sure those guys were a little annoyed with me with how many questions I was asking, but I just like learning that kind of stuff and getting a better understanding of how garage door openers and garage door springs and all that stuff kind of works. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. I know I was joking in the beginning of this video, kind of being sarcastic, saying, I love when you guys tell me when I screw something up. But in all sincerity, I really do. I never claim to be an expert on anything we do here on the YouTube channel, especially when it comes to garage door springs and openers and things like that. But this was a situation where I didn't even realize I was making a mistake by adding that weight to that door. Like I said, I thought that paneling was very light, the foam board was really light. I thought maybe at most I'd be adding a couple pounds. I had no idea that it would amount to 50 or 60 pounds we were adding to that door and creating extra stress on the opener. One more thing that I thought was an interesting fact those guys told me was, in the spirit of not realizing how much weight you're adding to your garage door, he said some people will actually paint the inside of their garage door and you don't really think about it because it's just a thin layer of paint. But he said some people will put a whole gallon of paint on their garage door and it's just the same as basically putting a nail in your garage door and hanging your 1 gallon bucket of paint that weighs 8 or 10 pounds on your garage door, and that makes a difference. So, if you get people that put 2 or 3 different coats of paint on a garage door, it's adding significant weight, even though it's just a real thin little layer. So something to think about. But I did want to sincerely thank you guys for the ones who commented and let us know that that was something we need to look into. It probably most likely prevented a future problem here with our garage door openers. Obviously some people are nicer about it than others in the comments, so I appreciate the ones who are at least decent about it and letting us know that we screwed up. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this one, give me a big thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.